Okay, so at this point we're all set and ready to bring everything into After Effects and start creating our final file. So we're going to go into After Effects here, and we have a few things that we're going to import. So we're going to go to File, Import, and we're going to start with the character. So we'll grab 0, 0, 0. We're going to tell it to be a PNG sequence, so we'll import all the photos followed in order of their number. Hit Open. Okay. So a problem that we're going to have here is After Effects brings in these still images and chooses its own frame rate for them. We're going to change the frames per second back to 24. And to do that, I right-clicked on the object. I went to Interpret Footage, Main, or Control F. Set it to 24. And it doesn't really matter in this case because our render background, it matter if we had an alpha channel. But in 3D Studio Max, when we rendered our character, you can see here that we actually rendered it on a black background. Had we rendered it on a white background, we'd have to come in and change the matte color to white. In this case, if we do change it to black, we won't see any difference because the character is going to be sitting on a black background anyways. So it's just good practice to come in, just set this to black, pre-multiplied matte color will come on, and hit OK. So now our character will come in and won't have a black outline to him. Alright, we're going to do the same thing for the blocks and the shadow. To prep this footage, set to black, 24, hit OK, file, import file, and now we'll grab the blocks, set this to 24, pre-multiplied, set to black. Okay, so I have two other elements that we're going to bring in. This is the logo that we're actually going to be using. I took my logo from Photoshop and I just created two different photos for us. One where it's lit up and one where it's quite dull. So we go to File, Import, File. We'll take Logo Unlit. And we'll choose Logo Lit. Okay, so we're all set to start compiling the shot. So what we're going to do is take our character render output, and we're going to drag and drop him onto this new composition button. If we let go, we now have a composition set up with our layer in it. So we can hit 0 on your number pad and watch this play through. Alright, great. Alright, next we're going to want to bring in our shadow. Okay, so it is there, but it's hard to see because we're seeing this on a black background. So what we're going to do is change our display so that it's a little lighter gray. Right? Pull the solid down to the bottom. Now we can see the shadow. But what we're also going to do is create another solid. So layer new, solid. Change this one to pure black, as this is the output of this video is meant to go on my website before I launch it, and the whole background to the website is black. So what we're going to do is help kind of bleed this in so that only one area of the website appears to have anything going on. So what we'll do is go grab our rectangle tool and we're going to create a mask here. Just click and drag around the outside. Okay, so we have the invert of what we want. We want the black to be on the outside and the gray to be on the inside. So we're just going to go into the mask, set this to subtract. So instead of adding it into the mask, it's actually whatever the rectangle had will be cut out. So we'll go into the mask properties and we're just going to adjust a few things. We're going to set its feather a little bit, maybe adjust its expansion so it's a little bit closer in. So now that this is on top, it will look like a character is actually coming into the scene. It's really dark on the left-hand side for him, so he comes in instead of just coming in out of nowhere. Okay, so now we can play around with the shadow a little bit. So with the shadow selected, I'm going to go ahead and add in a Gaussian blur to it, just to give it a softer shadow. So go to Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur. We'll just adjust this until we see this. Looks good. So I'll say about 2.5. Will look good. And we can affect the opacity just so we don't have such a dark shadow. So we can click on our object here, just click on the drop down here on the left side, and go down to opacity. And the hotkey for that is T, and it'll kind of hide everything except for the opacity. And we'll lower that down maybe to 50%. Okay. Alright, great. So next is to bring in the blocks, and then we'll start lining up our logo to it. So here's the render output for the blocks. And remember, our character is always going to be on top, so he jumps up, the head comes in front, but you'll actually hit it. Okay, so we're going to bring in our logo on lit, put it on top, and we're going to scale this down until it roughly matches up with what we want here. The blocks that we made in 3D Studio Max weren't accurate by any means. So we'll line up this bottom left-hand square to the bottom left one out there. Okay? And what we'll do is we're going to name this layer logo, and then we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to call this one, press enter, logo corner block. Just close this. Alright, so the reason why I did that is because I'm actually going to start separating this out so that we can have control of one of the blocks and the other three stay behind. So to do that, we're just going to mask out this block that we want. So it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here because we actually have both layers on, but if I turn the layer on in the bottom, you can see that we only have one block selected. So if I turn off that block on the top and turn the logo back on, you'll see that we have all four blocks again on the bottom one. So to hide that one, we'll just drag a mask around it. And instead of adding, we'll set it to subtract. Okay, so now as we turn on and off the block on top, we now have control over that corner. So what we're going to do is pull that one out, and we're going to match it up. Lock this layer here. We'll match it up to the one that's actually out there for 3D Studio Max. Alright, and we're just going to scroll forward. And we'll select the object's position, so we can go under its transform, see where the position is. We can click on the stopwatch once we get to that point. So right about there. Now we have a bit of a problem. It's not really lining up, so I'm going to pull it out even further. Alright, now we'll hit position. Alright, looks like our object moves over 2 times there. It's about there. And then we'll come forward and we can hit one more time. So we'll hit the key button here on the side, add keyframe. Alright. So at this point I'm going to move it forward maybe a little bit. And then when we get hit that last time, and actually that's where I want it to line up, right there. So we'll click and drag that keyframe, put it on top of the last one so the object moves in, and then our hammer comes in a little bit more at this point. We'll key that, and we'll knock the object back into where it belongs now. Right about there. Okay, so that concludes our need for the logo reference. Alright, we're just going to make sure that our logo is actually underneath our character.